You know, I hope nobody takes me wrong about what I say about with the churches of the Bible. I mean, as far as it goes, I don't want to deflect you from churches because, like I said, it's not a negative per se, right? It's just it's good fellowship, and you love these people, and it's reading the Word and scriptures is not a bad thing. The Bible's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it is, but to take an oppressed person, a sick, addicted person, or depressed, and then just let them open the Bible and start reading. After a while, they're gonna become terrified because they're gonna think, oh, there's no way I'm gonna make it to heaven. I mean, God hates me. The things I've done and what He thinks of people like that. You see, they have to be educated. We're all children. You have to take bits, pieces. You have to move people in. And all I'm saying about with the churches is don't take everything that they say to heart like people do with the AI nowadays. Instead of having a physical recording of phone numbers or locations or anything like that, they just trust their AI with all the information, and so we're getting more stupider, I guess you could say. And that's what I'm kind of saying with the Bible. Don't just take everything that's being told to you, you know. Uh, you got to look into it to where you feel in your heart this is without a shadow of a doubt, this is the truth. It's important to stay in scriptures and reading it because that's your relationship you're building with them. So the more you're in there and you're reading it, and you're building your relationship with them, you're spending time with them. But to understand a lot of the things that you're reading, like I said, you gotta modernize it and kind of get to where like those days are. Like with the Job story, you know, there's so much about my life I could really totally put in aspects, with Job. Like I said, the enemy, he knew what made me the happiest, what I loved the most, what always made me joyous and made me such a good hearted person was because I loved family. It was the best for me. And I loved doing for them. I loved the responsibility. And so he made sure he took all that away from me, every bit, you know. But, like I said, when you learn about the Lord's love and about the prosperity of having this love, you learn to just wherever you go, you make family and you build a relationship with people that comfort you and replace a lot of the things that you're lackluster in, and you even pick up responsibilities. So that way you always feel that committed to family feeling and keep pushing yourself forward. And it gives you a chance to be able to pass on wisdom to another generation that they need to hear. So, you know, that's how you gotta address life. It's up to you to make life happy. You can't sit around waiting for life to make you happy. You got to make life happy, and that's why he says so much about being humble. Why it's so important is because if you're carrying around bitterness and you're concentrating on all that, how are you ever going to have time to be happy or enjoy what's going on around you? Um, and an unforgiving spirit, like I said, that's a dangerous territory to be in. And not only that, you got to think about it. Like I'm not worried about when I get in heaven and have to face, God about my sins because you know what? I confessed them, I asked for forgiveness, and I forgot about them. So they're gone. And it's the same thing with things that people have done against me. All right. If I don't file a complaint, it's not going to go away. Well, how do you file a complaint? You confess what they did to you. You tell the Lord you forgive them. You want peace and harmony. And you pray for a blessing for that person. And when you do that, it's gone. It's wiped out. You don't ever have to carry that bitterness. You forgave. You're let loose from the whole scene. Now this person has to carry the responsibility of their actions. And it's up to them to confess. So it's important to always forgive. And it's better not to carry that stuff around. You won't even remember it once you learn to forgive. You won't even remember the whole incident against you. So it's more comfortable. That's how you learn to be happy. Um, what I'm trying to teach you is right now isn't to defy your religions. I'm just saying there's a reason why they separated the gospel in so many different deflections. And yeah, you can sit there and study all of them and then just put the things that are most common and consider them facts. That's how a knowledgeable scientific person would probably approach it. But in all honesty, when you learn with a loving heart to be in Jesus' ministry, you kind of know when you hear or feel something. You know what I mean? You just kind of know. I don't know how to explain it. There's coming a time, all right, like they're really trying to push this alien UFO narrative on everybody. See, it's not what you think it is, and it's not going to be pleasant. Um, there's going to be a time here where the abyss is going to be open, and this is why it's important to receive your mark um, for Jesus. Basically, it's kind of there. You won't even know it, got it or not, but if you live in the commandments that Jesus asked of us, you'll have the mark. The stronger your relationship with Him, um, well, the brighter your frequency, the more like I said, there's little tidbits. It's going to be little steps, so I can explain. But we are getting a lot closer, and you can tell by the bitterness of this world and the hatred that's being bound. Families turning against these children, turning against their parents, blasphemy of every sort, profanity at the highest level, deception in every corner. I mean, it's going on. But when you reach the point that I'm trying to get you to, at least to this certain point, you remove the weight on your heart that they've put on you by convincing you you're not worth it. You've done too much. God hates a liar. You've done this. You can't be forgiven. You sold your soul. Mind you, once again, you can't sell something that don't belong to you. You can make a pact, an agreement with the enemy, but you can't sell something you don't own. All you can do is make a pact, an agreement to worship Him. That's it. What God owns and Jesus owns, that's their decision, what they want to do with it. When you buy a storage unit, not everything in there you're going to keep. You're going to set aside valuables, possibles, garbage, and that's the same thing they're going to do. But you'll reach a sense in your heart at least where, yeah, I've got faults. Yeah, I'm going to have to labor for my actions. There'll be discipline, but I know He's a loving God, and I know I'm a loving person, so I know I have my place somewhere. I may be under a tree with stained garment, but I will be in the presence of God. And that's where I'm trying to get you, at least. The oppressed, the weak, the afflicted, the addicted, the atheists, the sinners of the world. I'm just trying to get your situation there. And when they talk about the lukewarm Christians, it's just people that feel they're safe. And see, that's the thing. Anybody that feels they're safe, they know they're going to heaven. There's a 2-part series to that. There's either the ones that feel that they're safe because of their works, that's lukewarm. Or there's those that feel that they're safe because they know Jesus loves them. So there's 2 different, and see, that's the thing is that's what I was telling you about the communication between your mind and heart. Your mind sends the message to your heart weighs it and decides if it's good or not. And then you can release. But this is what I mean about educate. So it's going to take a little time. Thank you.